Welcome to r/AskReddit, where people are answering the question, what's the best example you have witnessed of someone destroying their own happiness/life? Some guy at work was caught red-handed stealing AirPods from the locker room. When he was sent to pick up his own kit before being sent home, he excused himself to go to the toilet and took a shit on the floor.
The kicker is that we work on an oil rig.
It's impossible to get away with theft, and he was a senior technician making really good money. He didn't need the AirPods, he was just stealing for the fun of it.
He's now not required back, and all the companies talk to each other. He shat away his career over a pair of AirPods.
My husband's friend had a beautiful wife, gorgeous house, 2 lovely boys, a job he loved and lots of great friends who loved him. Then he decided at the age of 35 to get into hard drugs. He has been in and out of prison for violent crimes, transportation of large volumes of heroin, attempted murder, burglary and stalking. He is homeless again as he burned down his flat on purpose to get a move. No one will ever talk to him again. He's now 55 and has nothing. His wife divorced him after giving him far too many chances. His sons hate him. His real friends gone forever, all for nothing.
I have a friend, I'll call him Jay. Smart as heck, but maybe a little on the spectrum, so clueless as to social things. But he made great money in tech. One day he's at a friend's house, and the friend said something to the effect of, "Nobody could bug my house without me knowing." So Jay thought it would be funny to put a spare webcam he happened to have in his backpack in his friend's entertainment center plugged into his Xbox just to see how long it took him to notice. Well, the friend didn't notice, but his friend's girlfriend did and thought the friend had been recording them having sex, so she called the cops.
The cops arrested the friend.
Jay hears about it and goes in to explain.
He didn't think he needed a lawyer. He figured the cops would be able to see. It was just a dumb misunderstanding.
Thing is, in my state, placing a recording device in someone's home without their consent is voyeurism, which is a sex crime. And Jay just admitted to the cops on the record that he had done so. Also in my state, it's a law that all sex crimes must be prosecuted, so even though Jay's friend and his friend's girlfriend didn't want to press charges, Jay still got prosecuted.
The prosecutor and judge were as gentle as they could be, but he was still convicted.
Now as a registered sex offender for life, he has trouble finding and keeping work, gets harassed by neighbors, can't go to most of his kids' sports events, etc.
All over one seemingly harmless prank. It's crazy how he was convicted, even though the friend did not want to press charges for such an innocent crime. Friend of a friend got caught in one of those to catch a predator-style stings. Was messaging with what he thought was a 14-year-old and tried to meet up to have sex.
Lost his wife, all his friends, his apprenticeship, and spent the next several years in prison.
My dad. He was a really talented mechanic and the shop foreman.
Well-liked, made great money, loved his job, owned a nice house in a beautiful neighborhood, in a port town we all loved.
Married to a wonderful woman, my mom had 2 kids.
He just couldn't stop drinking. He became abusive and horrible. Lost everything, his house, his job, his family. He drank himself to death when I was 19 and my sister was 17. He died alone.
To her enormous credit, after she left, my mom put herself through school and supported us all on her own. She got blacklisted by my dad's family and hers. Since the divorce was something they all looked down upon and felt she shouldn't shame the family. They even threatened to gang up on her and lie in court, saying she was on drugs. She was not. It was the bravest and best thing she ever could have done for us. At the funeral, all these same people just kept telling her how brave she was. We didn't know how bad he was till years later.
My sister and I are both successful, thriving adults with great professions.
We have our own families and children. We both own our houses and have a good income. We're well educated.
Our lives are filled with love.
It's all thanks to my mom.
Over the years, I think about my dad from time to time.
Having my own children now, a husband, all of whom I love dearly. I can't imagine any scenario I would ever put them through that.
I don't feel sad about it anymore.
But it's just such a waste.
His whole life.
And for what?
Some liquid in a bottle. Addiction is a terrible thing.
Recent example, guy was a doctor and now cannot work because he hit his wife while they were getting divorced. I don't know the specifics of it, but the domestic violence offense on his record is prohibiting him from working in medicine. This kid I went to college with was in the Army Reserves, making really good grades, and his parents were really well off.
The kid's life was set.
Got an allowance every month from his parents, had a nice brand new car for school, lived in a nice apartment right off campus, and he had so much going for him. He didn't even have to work, just do his monthly reserve days, which were like 3 days a month. So set for life. To shorten the story a bit, he pissed hot at a random UA drug test for ducking cocaine.
He got lucky and the Army gave him a second chance. Not even 5 months later, he pissed hot again for cocaine and marijuana.
He somehow got lucky again, and they just kicked him out in an other than honorable discharge. Parents pulled his funding and he had to get a minimum wage job at a sandwich shop. Never saw him again until he randomly popped up on my Facebook about a year later. I hit him up to see how he was.
Up and moved halfway across the US with this girl he got pregnant. And they were both working at Walmart, barely affording rent.
He sold his BMW to pocket the move up there.
He also looked rough, to say the least, in a lot of his pictures. I worked on a school bus as a monitor/aide.
There was one driver, we'll call him Ed. Ed was always complaining about something, every single day. There was some new issue, some problem. He was a bit of a pain. He got into an argument with one of our supervisors over the radio one day and earned himself a 3-day suspension. His first morning back from his suspension.
First route of the day, he gets on the radio and starts back complaining. Dispatch asks him a few simple questions. He responds with hostility and some really unprofessional comments. The director of transportation, our big boss, gets on the radio and asks Ed to meet him in his office after morning routes.
Ed responds, "I'll be there if I have time." Boss says, "I need you to understand, this is not optional." Ed comes back, "I need you to understand, I'll be there if I have time." Mind you, this is on the radio as we are picking up high school kids. Everyone can hear what's happening this entire time.
Another dispatcher calls in and tells Ed, when you finish your high school route, park your bus there at the school.
We are bringing someone to take your route over and to bring you back to the lot. Ed did not like this and responded by saying negative.
I am finishing my route. Me. If you want someone to drive my route, you get our boss's boss and have her come drive this route. Otherwise, I am finishing my route.
Dispatch asked for an estimated time of arrival to the high school. He responded, "Whenever our boss's boss is going to be there. Otherwise, I get there when I get there."
Somewhere around this time, he starts talking like they were targeting him and picking on him and that it ends today.
Again, at this point, he has a bus full of high school kids. Now, I did not see what happened at the high school, but I heard from several other drivers. Apparently, the police were waiting for him once he got there and they removed him from his bus. To quote one driver, he acted a fool the entire time.
I'm not sure exactly what he was charged with. Maybe kidnapping, since he acted like he wasn't going to bring the kids to school unless he got what he wanted. Theft for not bringing the bus back.
No clue.
But I do know he was arrested and fired.
A few days later, we get the news that he had a heart attack and died.
Most likely from all the stress.
My younger brother broke up with a girl he liked because she farted in her sleep. He was telling my older brother and I that he was in the midst of a miserable dry spell.
And how he'd been seeing a girl he liked, but then she farted in her sleep and he was so grossed out, because there are some things you don't need to see your SO doing. It just felt like the mystery was gone. My older bro was like, yeah, cause that's what the mystery was about, farting.
I called younger bro a ducking moron and older bro was like, "You're half right." Edit. When he said "you're half right," he meant my younger brother may be a moron, but he ain't ducking.
I was a child protection specialist for years.
I was assigned to work with a certain mom. It was the 3rd time the courts had been involved with her due to drug abuse.
But her drug of choice was huffing. The only huffing case I ever had. She was absolutely a lovely person. She had worked hard to earn a degree and enter into a career field. She was kind and beautiful.
She was cooperative and she was determined. But despite how hard she was trying, she would relapse, and this was to be the last chance she got with the courts, so the stakes were high. We worked so well together.
She spent 18 months going to treatment, getting re-employed, getting her own place, and having increased visits with her kids, who were also wonderful.
The kids had been staying at her parents' place while we were working towards progress. We went to court and requested reunification, and the judge granted it.
We were all so proud of her and happy for them as a family.
We planned to fully move her kids home with her a week from that very court date. 2 days before we planned to return her kids to her, she drove her car through the front of a Walmart because she had been huffing and was high. She killed a Walmart employee and proceeded to huff herself to death in the electronics aisle, where there was keyboard duster spray, while law enforcement was on its way. I got the news at 5 a.m. that she was dead, and had to go tell her children they wouldn't be going back to their mother. Ever. My ex-wife, we had sort of realized that things wasn't going to work out in the long run, but we wanted to solve things as amicably as possible and take the time. There was no real animosity other than things just not working, until of course I found out she had some boyfriends staying there when I wasn't home. If she told me beforehand, I probably wouldn't even be that pissed, but just expedited the breakup so she could do what she wanted. But of course, when I come home and literally find him, I got pissed, and instead of being any sort of humble or try to talk, she just screams and shouts that I could just go, and she now had a new guy that would take care of her.
I said okay, grabbed my stuff, gave her the bill for the rent, and said it's due in 3 days, but your fella will of course take care of that, goodbye.
He was the one that got the problem, because then she kind of had to go all in, and he did for a few months, and then basically told her that it wasn't really in the deal/plan to literally take over a wife with 2 kids, not mine, on a random Tuesday. And then she had to spend the next 10 years working all kinds of things 15 hours a day to be able to keep an apartment.
And so on.
We are friends today in that I don't hate her. So we talk once in a while, and she says that that was the dumbest day in her life.
Not just sitting down and discuss for even 5 minutes. That was r/AskReddit. That last one must really linger in the ex-wife's mind. 10 years down the drain. Thank you for watching till the end. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you are new to the channel.